So good evening, everybody. Let's start by generating our motivation. So one thing that His Holiness said when we were in DC was that we should be 21st century Buddhists. That we shouldn't just recite things without understanding the meaning, or have blind faith without, again, understanding the meaning of what we're doing. So to develop understanding, we need to study in order to gain knowledge. And so hearing teachings tonight is a step in that direction. But what is the direction that we're ultimately going in? We want our ultimate aim to be a very vast one, a very noble one with the most pure intention. And so we aim for full awakening for the benefit of all beings. Even if it takes eons to attain that, even if we get frustrated and depressed in the middle, even if all the sentient beings were working to benefit hate us, still we want to develop a very strong mind, a very courageous mind, to continue on the path with compassion. So contemplate that for a minute, and let's let that be our motivation for sharing the evening together. So this whole thing about being a 21st century Buddhist is quite something. You know, His Holiness is really emphasizing the importance of knowledge and study. And yet here we have the relics coming to town where we're told that people have experiences of healing and people start crying and they have all these moving experiences. And doesn't that seem like a lot of blind faith? It does to me. Doesn't that to you? Kind of like magic. You know, hear these things and, well, somebody else said they're holy, so I guess I better feel something when I'm around them, otherwise I'm out of it. And everybody else is having some far-out mystical experience, getting healed from this and that, or, being touched to their very core. And me with, sure, I could go to that devotion and faith, but, one part of me wants to do it, but then His Holiness says, oh, that's kind of old-fashioned. But then does that mean that I'm just sit back in my own skepticism and cynicism and say, what is this stuff anyway? Do you have any of this stuff going on in your mind? You're advertising the relic tour like mad. Do you have any of this going on in your mind? You have blind faith and devotion in all the relics? Or are you completely skeptical?
No, I'm not completely either.
Well, then what are they for?
Well, I think that's an excellent question, Venerable Samton. What are they for? Yeah? What are they for? Mm-hmm.
I just think it's inspiring to be around them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's nothing magical about them in my mind. but there is something about people's capacity that they don't recognize that sometimes people get in touch with.
Okay, so people getting in touch with some capacity or potential within themselves by seeing the relics. How do you think that works?
I don't think the relics make that happen. I really don't.
Okay, good. You don't think the relics make that happen.
That's all an internal thing.
Yeah, it's an internal thing coming from the person's own mind. And the relic is some kind of cooperative condition that functions because the person has some kind of faith or devotion or something in it. But it's really an internal process that's going on.
Two karmas coming together at the same time.
It's through what?
Two karmas coming together
Yeah.
at the same time.
Okay, so two causes and conditions coming together, you know, one's own receptivity and then the sight of the relics. Yeah. Do you think the relics can cure you of disease?
When you have faith in them, maybe.
So they cure you?
Well, no. Well, not solely.
They're not just rocks, though.
They're not just rocks. He's saying maybe if you have faith in them. What about if you don't have faith in them? Can they cure you?
You probably wouldn't label it them as being a cure if you happen to get some relief of symptom of some kind of physical ailment and you didn't have faith in them, it wouldn't be attributed to them.
Mm-hmm.
Impute their blessing and blessing to them.
Mm-hmm. But could they help you if you didn't have faith?
But could it be that somebody think that they don't have faith, but somehow they do?
You mean a person thinks, I don't have faith, but they actually do have some faith. Oh yeah, that can happen. That can happen. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you go and see a lot of relics, you're going to make very vast progress on the path?
I hope so. Depends on how you see those relics. I hope so.
So is it more valuable to see the relics or to attend a teaching?
It's more valuable to attend the teaching.
More valuable to attend the teaching.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But more people will come.
To the relics than to a teaching. Now isn't that interesting? It's more valuable to attend a teaching, but more people will come to see the relics than to attend a teaching. Interesting, isn't it? You know how His Holiness said in D.C. that the Kala Chakra initiation isn't the point, but it's the publicity that gets people there so that they'll listen to the 3 days of teachings that he's giving. So the relics are kind of like, you know, the publicity to get there, to get people there to hear a talk on forgiveness, a talk on compassion. So are we doing propaganda? Yes? Skillful means.
Whichever way serves the sentient beings.
Yeah. It's something to think about, you know. I once asked Lama Zopa, because Lama Zopa does all these things with so much faith, and the statues and the, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I was helping him one time make blessed pills. You know, actually I helped him a couple of times do that. And I said, Rinpoche, you know, how do these things benefit people? You know, what do you mean blessed pills? How do they give a blessing? And he had his mala in his hand, and he went like that. Must have been a Zen master, huh? That's all he did. Went like that with his mala. Okay.
From one end to the other?
Yeah.
What did it mean?
Well, that's the koan. That's the thing to try and understand.
Is it within the scope
What does that mean?
of the analytical conceptual mind?
Well, you know, we should be able to explain some things. Yeah. If we say everything is beyond the scope of our analytical mind, then, you know, we can't even talk about how a computer works. And we can't talk about anything. I mean, sure, you know, realizing emptiness is beyond the scope of our analytical mind, but we need our analytical mind to make progress on that path to realize emptiness.
Can we also look at it in terms of the enlightening influence of the Buddhas? So that there's something there that we label Ananda and Shakyamuni Buddhas, I mean, whatever it is, we have that. And that itself inspires some space, some faith, which opens our mind to be able to receive or whatever awaken in ourselves, whatever seeds we planted in the past.
Okay, so if we label gives the label Shariputra or whoever it is.
On a valid basis.
On a valid basis or an invalid basis?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah?
Yeah, I suppose.
And does it, you know, if we don't label it, does it still work? You know that story about the tooth? Remember the old lady who asked her son, who was going on pilgrimage, to please bring back a relic of the Buddha. And her son, when he was just very close to the house, all of a sudden remembered that he had forgotten to get a relic of the Buddha. And right then and there he saw a dead dog, and he pulled a tooth out of the dead dog and brought it home to Mom and said, "This is a relic of the Buddha." And she worshipped it and had faith in it and made offerings to it, and it began to multiply like the relics multiply. So what do you think of that?
Dharmic causality.
And for that matter, how do we know the dog wasn't an appearance of a Buddha right there?
You know, I asked His Holiness about this story. I said, you know, how do we explain this? He said, silly story.
Don't you think, though, Venerable, that this is what I think. I think we imbue these things with meaning. And that, because everything is empty, you can't make anything into anything, but you can unleash some things in your mind.
Yeah. Okay, so things are empty of true existence. And, well, we can't make anything. We're the ones who give meaning to things, aren't we? They don't have meaning from their own side. They have meaning in relation to other things around, and they have meaning in relationship to our minds.
So with the question of when you don't have faith or imbue it with meaning, does it still have an effect? Like, well, then there's the other story about like the fly that circled around the stupa.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that fly that, you know, went around the stupa and got the good karma to be born as that monk. Yeah. So even if you don't imbue something with meaning, you know, you can think rat poison is nectar, but if you drink it, what's going to happen? You're going to die. So you can imbue things with all sorts of meaning. Does that mean they have that meaning? And what happens if you don't imbue it with meaning? Does it mean that it doesn't function like that? If we don't look at the rat poison and think it's going to kill us, will it still kill us? You bet.
Maybe it's because we don't really know that much about conventional reality.
Well, that's true. We don't know much about conventional reality, although we think we do. Yeah. But it's something to think about, and it's something to see, you know, where do we put our energy, and why do more people come for an initiation than for a teaching, and why do more people come to see relics than they do for a talk on compassion? Yeah. And, you know, why do we kind of, you know, have sometimes this instant faith in people with a lot of titles? Yeah, two people walk in the room, one of them has a lot of titles, the other one doesn't. You get goosebumps looking at one, not looking at the other. Then at the end you found out that you had mixed them up. Then what?
You feel like a fool.
That's right, we feel pretty foolish. So is it foolish, you know, when you impute on one and you go, ah, and then, you know, there's nothing there? Or maybe there is something there.
So when we're in the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and everyone feels their heart open and very light and inspired and so forth, certainly some of that is coming from His Holiness.
He's radiating it out.
I think the power of His compassionate mind is palpable. Is He radiating it out? I don't know.
But you get vibes when you're around different people, don't you? When you're around an angry person, they don't need to say a word, but you pick up on it. Yeah, when you're around a compassionate person, they also don't need to say much, and you pick up on it. Unless you're really angry, and then you get angry at the compassionate person. You know, that happens too, doesn't it? You know, I've talked to many people who've gone to teachings, and they say, I get so angry, I don't know where it comes from. That ever happened to you?
Yeah.
It's happened to me.
Yeah.
You're sitting there, hearing some teaching, your mind's crazy. Where did that come from? Even you're sitting there telling yourself, oh, but I'm in the presence of this incredible being.
Bad karma, right?
You know, so I'm just raising this because it's a lot of things to think about. You know, we're in causality and how karma works and how labeling works and causes and conditions and everything like that. Yeah. And you know, what does it mean to really have faith? What does it mean to really have faith? Yeah. Yes?
Well, then this also calls into question prayer.
Oh, it calls into question prayer. Yeah.
They've done studies, as you know, where one group of people are prayed for and the other group isn't, and they don't have to be believers in anything, and the group that's prayed for does better.
Yes.
So wouldn't the relics be the same thing? Some sort of blessed quality, and we don't understand how this works? These realized beings left these for a reason. So what's the reason?
Yeah, but what about the dog's tooth?
Well, the tooth could be a Buddha, right? Well, an omniscient being knows what we need to help us along the path of godliness.
So why do you get mad at the people next to you? They might be Buddhas.
I don't have an answer to that. Deluded? Need to be around relics.
So when they're dead, then they give you all sorts of goosebumps and inspire faith, and when they're alive, they make you mad.
When they're dead, they don't talk to you.
Yeah, when they're dead, they don't talk to you, and you can impute anything you want on them. Okay, we're going to go on to this text. Just wanted to raise some questions, get people thinking, you know. So when we have the relics, if somebody comes in and faints and...
Somebody will.
You have it pre-planned at the stage.
It's been there before. Somebody will.
Okay. So we're doing part 1, the fundamental vehicle, grounds, and paths. So this is much more scientific. Okay, so the presentation of the grounds and paths of the fundamental vehicle has 3 parts: definitions, divisions, and etymologies. Okay, so the definition. So remember, fundamental vehicles are the hearer and solitary realizer vehicle. So the definition of a fundamental vehicle ground is a clear realizer of one who has entered a fundamental vehicle path, which serves as a basis for the many good qualities which are its effects. And the definition of a fundamental vehicle path is a fundamental vehicle clear realizer. The two, fundamental vehicle ground and fundamental vehicle path, are synonymous. Now, they have a whole text called the Ornament of Clear Realizations. In that text, in all the commentaries, I have not found a clear definition of clear realizer. They will define everything up and down, but not that. Okay, so a clear realizer, some kind of understanding, some kind of knowledge, okay, of somebody who has entered a fundamental vehicle path, meaning somebody who has generated renunciation, yeah, complete renunciation. And this path serves as a basis for the many good qualities which are its effects. So there's a path. Remember, paths are consciousnesses. Okay, a path is a consciousness that has some kind of understanding, and it's going to bring some kind of effect. Hopefully a good one, and better, otherwise you're not doing things the way they're supposed to be done. Okay? So, and then the fundamental vehicle path is a fundamental vehicle clear realizer. Clear, like mud. Thank you. Okay. But the ground and the path are synonymous. As we go on and start to talk about how they divide these and everything, you begin to get some kind of feeling about what a ground is and what a path is and what a clear realizer is. So we'll continue. Okay? Because it also... Okay, well, let's just keep going. Okay, so that was the first one, the definitions. We'll leave that for the moment. We can come back to it later. Yeah, and see what our understanding it comes to. Then the second category is divisions. So this has two parts, fundamental vehicle grounds and paths, which were the two things that we just defined. So fundamental vehicle grounds. Okay. So when fundamental vehicle grounds are divided, there are the 8 lesser grounds, because there are the grounds of lineage, the ground of the 8th, the ground of seeing, the ground of diminishment, the ground of freedom from desire, the ground of realizing completion, the grounds of hearers, and the grounds of solitary realizers. Are you happy? Is that clear? Okay, let me talk a little bit about how the kind of divisions of the fundamental vehicle of the grounds, okay, or how somebody progresses through the fundamental vehicle paths and grounds. They talk about the 8 approachers and abiders. Okay, when you study the Jewel of Sangha from the viewpoint of the fundamental vehicle, it's done with the 8 approachers and abiders. So there are 4 pairs. Each pair has an approacher and an abider. Okay, so the first pair is about stream entry. The second, once returner. The third is non-returner, and the fourth is arhat. So we have the approacher to stream entry, the abider in stream entry, the approacher to once returner, the abider in once returner, the approacher to non-returner, the abider to non-returner, the approacher to arhat, and the abider as arhat. Okay? So what these are it's how you gain the realizations of an arhat. An arhat being somebody who's eliminated all the afflictive obscurations. So somebody who is an abider in stream entry has eliminated 3 of the fetters. Okay, they've eliminated the view of personal identity. Well, the one we used to, in Tibetan, it's jigta. We used to call it view of the perishing aggregates, but view of a personal identity, I think, expresses the meaning. So stream enter has eliminated the view of the personal identity. They've eliminated doubt, and they've also eliminated the view holding bad ethics and modes of conduct as supreme. Okay, remember when we studied the 10 root afflictions? So these are all found in those. So a stream enter has eliminated those 3. An approacher to a stream enter is somebody who is in the process of eliminating them, and an abider in stream entry is somebody who has eliminated them. Then that person goes on and they keep meditating. Okay, they're meditating on emptiness. And then they become an approacher to once returner, and then an abider in once returner. So a once returner is somebody who has weakened substantially, but not totally eliminated, to more of the fetters, the fetter of sensual desire and the fetter of malice. Okay, and so the approacher to once returner is in the process of eliminating, or not eliminating, but reducing those, and a once returner has reduced them substantially. Okay, then somebody goes on to become a non-returner. So an approacher to a non-returner is in the process of eliminating all the sensual desire and all the malice, and a non-attender, and then an abider in non-returner has fully eliminated those 2. So an abider in non-returner has eliminated what's called the 5 lower fetters. So you have the view of personal identity, doubt, wrong view about ethics and modes of conduct, sensual desire, and malice. Okay? Then an abider, an approacher to arhatship has eliminated all 10 fetters. So those 5 lower ones, and then there's 5 others. Okay? And so those 5 others are the desire that exists in the form realm, the desire that exists in the formless realm, conceit, restlessness, ignorance. Okay? Conceit, it's often translated as pride, but I think conceit sometimes is, to me, conceit has more juice in it as something negative. You know, does it? Yeah? Okay, so if we go, okay, we have some other new terms to introduce here, okay? There's two other terms which will help you understand these 8 better. So one is uninterrupted path, and then the other is liberated path. So both an uninterrupted path and a liberated path, they both realize emptiness directly. An uninterrupted path is in the process of eliminating a certain affliction or a certain number of afflictions. And the liberated path, which follows just after that uninterrupted path, has eliminated those whatever afflictions it is. Okay? So it's called uninterrupted path because without interruption, you go right to a liberated path. You know, so you might be meditating on emptiness a long, long time, practicing, practicing, practicing. And then that last meditation, before you completely eliminate certain afflictions, that last meditation where you're really culminating that elimination, that's called an uninterrupted path. And then when you've eliminated those things, that's the liberated path. Okay? So the difference between them, they say on the uninterrupted path, you no longer have whatever affliction it is you're eliminating, but you can't say you've abandoned it yet. Whereas on the liberated path, you have definitely abandoned it. So the analogy they give is you've kicked the thief out of the house, that's the uninterrupted path, but you haven't locked the door behind. So when you've locked the door behind, that's the liberated path. So when we look at these 4 pairs of approachers and abiders, all the approachers are uninterrupted paths, and all the abiders are liberated paths. Okay, so if you think of it, you know, somebody who's an approacher to stream entry, you know, they've been meditating on emptiness for a long time, and then you know, when they first get the first direct realization of emptiness, then they become an approacher to stream entry, and they're in the process of eliminating view of a personal identity. So that's the mind that says, you know, that reifies I and mine. That's the one that thinks there's a real big me here in control. You know, so this is a pretty heavy-duty affliction because it's kind of the center of our life. Yeah. So that is in the process of being eliminated. And then doubt is in the process of being eliminated because you know, before you have that first uninterrupted path, before you have that first direct realization of emptiness, there's doubt in the mind about emptiness. Isn't there? You know, and doubt, there's still doubt in the mind about the 3 jewels. Yeah, because the Dharma refuge is, you know, the true path and true cessation, and you haven't actualized those yet, so there's still some kind of doubt about them. When you get to that point of realizing emptiness, then all doubt about the existence of emptiness, the truth of emptiness, all doubt about the existence of the 3 jewels, that vanishes because now you have direct realization of the Dharma jewel. Okay? And then the other affliction that you're getting rid of on the uninterrupted path, you know, or as approacher to stream enter, is the one that holds bad ethics and modes of conduct. So this is the one that has all sorts of skewed ideas about what the path to liberation is, and all sorts of skewed ideas about what is virtue and what is non-virtue. You know, so like the person that thinks that killing the enemy of Dharma is going to create good karma, you know, or is going to, you know, this whole thing we have in religion now of, you know, you kill the heathens and you're rewarded by a rebirth in heaven. That is one of these wrong views about modes of you know, the path and modes of conduct. So that kind of thing is completely, you know, eliminated. Or in India, they used to have people who would jump on tridents, and if the center spoke of the trident came out the top of your head, it means you had attained liberation. Or people who do animal sacrifice, you know, who thinks that is a valid path to, you know, to liberation, to doing animal sacrifice. Or people who think that drinking blessed water is going to purify their negative karma. What were we drinking at the initiation? And what's the difference between somebody who thinks drinking water from the Ganges is going to purify their karma and us drinking the water at the initiation? What's the difference? There better be one. There better be one, otherwise. So think about that. You know, what's the difference? Yeah, all those people at the initiation, they wanted that gusu grass. They fought to get this string. This string, which is called a protection string, which we have to protect, otherwise it gets damaged and lost, we think is going to protect us. But we have to protect it. Why were all these people fighting over this string? You know? And can you imagine if they hadn't passed out all the blessed water? We would have had, you know, 15,000 crazies. So there better be some difference. Okay, so when you're in a stream enter, you're in the process. When you're an approacher, you're meditating on emptiness, having that direct realization of emptiness. You're in the process of eliminating these three. When you have shut the door behind these three and you've completely abandoned them, then in the very next moment, you're on the liberated path. Yeah, and so you are then a stream enterer, an abider in stream entry. So this person has some good kind of realization, don't they? Do you see why they're part of the Sangha jewel, why they're part of people that we respect and admire, that can be reliable guides to us and help us on the path? Okay. Then, when they're as a stream enterer, they keep meditating. Meditating. Maybe, you know, who knows, days, weeks, months, years, lifetimes. Then, when they're at that part where they're really reducing the sensual desire and malice to a great extent, then they're on the they're approacher to stream entry. And when they've finished eliminating it to that extent, then they pass right into, in the next moment, being an abider in stream entry. Abider in I'm sorry, did I say stream entry? I meant once returner for both of those. They're an abider, approacher and once returner, and when they've reduced the sensual desire and malice to a certain degree, then they are an abider in once returning. Okay? So again, you know, pretty good realization. So sensual desire is a huge problem, isn't it? You know, I mean, this is our biggest distraction. We're so captivated by sights and sounds and smells and tastes and touch and, you know, whatever sense object is in front of us, we're like, you know, can it give me pleasure or is it giving me pain? So the sensual desire is running after the ones that we think have pleasure in them, and the malice, the ill will, is, you know, how we feel towards the ones that cause us pain. Yeah, so reducing these to a significant extent, that would be really nice, wouldn't it? Okay? Yeah, so, you know, first you think about the stream enterer, and what would it be like? You no longer have the view of the personal identity. You no longer have doubt. You no longer have wrong views about ethics and modes of conduct. Wouldn't your life be kind of nice? Not all this doubt and confusion and turmoil about the path. And then you keep on going, and then you become a stream enterer. Once returner, and then after that a non-returner. Yeah, so when you're a approacher to non-returner, you're actually eliminating the sensual desire and malice, you know, and then when you become an abider in non-returner, then you've really eliminated them. Wouldn't that be nice? All your sensual desire and all your malice, all your ill will is gone. Wouldn't that be nice? People can say whatever they want to you. You don't get angry. Yeah, people can dangle whatever incredible sense object, you know, that used to entice you in front of you, and your mind doesn't go crazy. You know, your mind stays calm, peaceful. Be kind of nice, wouldn't it? Okay. Then you keep practicing, and your realization of emptiness keeps getting deeper and deeper. When you get, and finally, after however long it takes, to that meditation where you're actually, you know, eliminating from the root the rest of the fetters. Okay, so the attachment to rebirth in the form realm, attachment to rebirth in the formless realm, conceit, restlessness, and ignorance. Okay, and then, so you're eliminating those as an approacher to arhatship, and then as an abider in arhatship, when you're an arhat, a liberated being, then those are also gone completely, and they can never come back again.
Can you repeat it again? Attachment to rebirth?
To in the form realm. So in these realms, where you have the form realm is where you have certain levels of single-pointed concentration, and then attachment to rebirth in the formless realms, where you have even deeper levels of concentration. But you're still in samsara, even if you're born in the form realm or the formless realm. Okay, so attachment to those kinds of concentrations that can keep people revolving in cyclic existence.
Do they have connection to the bardo, those realms, or have
No.
nothing to do with it?
No. They're different. They're beings who have been born in these different realms. Okay? And then, what did I say? Conceit. The mind, especially the conceit of I. I love that one. I mean, not love it, but I find it disgusting, but the terminology really gives me the feeling of it. The conceit of I. Just the conceit of I am. Yeah, such incredible strong grasping. And then restlessness, and then ignorance. Yeah. So those are all eliminated at arhatship. At arhatship, you've also eliminated the 3 or 4 pollutants or contaminations. So sometimes they list 3, and then sometimes they list 4. A 4th one got added in there. Okay, but the 3 pollutants that you're also free from as an arhat. Sensuality, so there we have sensual desire again. Okay. Craving to exist. So just the craving, you know, for I am, the craving to exist as a sentient being. Ignorance, and then also views. So views include, you know, the view of the personal identity, the bad view of bad ethics, and things like that. But this pollution of views wasn't listed in the early sutras as a pollutant. It was something that came in the later sutras, I guess. Okay, so with that kind of idea of what the hearers are, then let's go back and look at these grounds. Yeah.
Do I have this right, that the view of the personal identity is the ignorance that's the beginning of the 12 links?
Yes.
So it seems then, if you get to that point of letting that go, that it's almost guaranteed that the rest follow. Is that accurate? I mean, you have to keep meditating.
Right.
But that is really the one that unpins the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't ever go back after that, even though that they say you can. But
No, you can't. You can't. When you have direct perception of emptiness, you can never go back to not having direct. You can never lose that.
So so everything then will follow just by force.
Right.
Of having that first realization it carries.
Right.
That understanding.
Right.
Cool. Okay.
I don't get what the non-returner is eliminating.
Oh, the non-returner has completely eliminated sensual desire and ill will.
Then what is the, just the once returner doing?
The once returner has significantly diminished them.
I see.
Okay, but they're not abandoned until non-returner.
How would you still have ignorance after already eliminating the
View of the personal aggregates, yes, or the view of a personal identity. That is because here, that explanation that I just gave is according to the lower schools, where they say that ignorance and view of a personal identity are separate. You know, in Prasangika, they say view of a personal identity holds focus. It isn't exactly the same as ignorance, but it holds objects in the same way as ignorance does. In the lower schools, ignorance is just not seeing, it's an unclarity. But whereas view of a personal identity is actively grasping the self, the I and the mind to exist in the way that they don't.
conceit?
Huh?
What about conceit, which is like built on top of that?
Right.
How would you still have conceit?
Yeah, but see, in the according to the lower schools, the view of the personal identity is not the actual root of samsara. You know, it's much more, because they differentiate that and ignorance. You know. Okay. Okay. So let's go back here. Okay, so let us express this illustrations of this ground respectively. Okay, so here it's giving this in kind of debate language, yeah. The subject, the 4 paths of preparation. So, okay, let me ask you this. When somebody is a stream enterer, which of the 5 paths are they on?
Path of seeing.
Path of seeing. Okay, what's come before the path of seeing? Okay, that's the immediate one before, and the one before path of preparation? Path of accumulation. Okay, so here it's talking about the 4 paths of preparation. So there's 4 stages of the path of preparation. They're called heat, peak, forbearance, and supreme mundane qualities. Okay, so the 4 paths of preparation of hearers who progress solely to peace, in other words, somebody who's going to their own arhatship, those 4 paths of preparation are called the grounds of lineage. Okay, because of being clear realizers of fundamental vehicle common beings who are non-mistaken with respect to their lineage. Okay. So, okay. Okay. Le sujet, les 4, ça dit c'est path. Chemin de préparation. Le heat, I forgot how to see. Calor. Peak, le pont, la forbearance, la patience, and la qualité suprême mondiale. Yeah, de hearers, écoutance, qui progresse seulement à la part are the grounds of lineage. Sont le terre de lignage parce que ils sont la réalisation claire des véhicules fondamentaux de essais mondains qui sont sans erreur with respect à leur lignage.
Avec respect.
avec le respect à leur lignage. Est clair maintenant? I can do it in Italian too.
It goes like this.
No, that's how I learned to speak Italian. I spoke English and either added an O or an A at the end and moved my hand. And everybody understood. Okay. So somebody who's on the path of preparation, okay, and so they're here, and when it says that, and they're common beings because they aren't yet Aryas, they haven't realized emptiness directly yet, so they're common beings. They're of the fundamental vehicle, and they are non-mistaken with respect to their lineage, which means that these people are certainly going towards here arhatship. Okay, so they're not at a point where they could cross over and go to the bodhisattva path, but they're beings who have very strong karma, or because of their disposition or whatever, then they're definite in the here vehicle. Okay, and so they're progressing, to personal peace. It says solely to peace, yeah. But they're on the path of preparation. So they have the union of serenity and insight on emptiness, but they don't yet have a direct perceiver of emptiness. Okay? So they are called the grounds of lineage. Okay, because they're beings, they're the paths and the minds of beings who are secure in their lineage. Okay. Then the second one, the subject, a realizer of an approacher to stream enterer, is a ground of an eighth, okay, person, because of being a clear realizer of the eighth superior when one counts backwards from abider in the fruit of foe destroyer. So when we have the abider in the fruit of arhatship, okay, and that, if you count that as one, then the approacher to arhatship is 2, then the abider in the fruit of non-returner is 3, and the approacher is 4, and the abider in the fruit of once returner is 5, the approacher to that is 6, the abider of stream entry, the fruit of stream entry is 7, and then 8 is the approacher. So that one is called the ground of an eighth, because they're the eighth when we've counted backwards from being in the fruit of arhatship. Okay? Then 3, the subject, a realizer of an abider in the fruit of stream enterer, is a ground of seeing because of being a clear realizer of a fundamental vehicle superior who initially sees the truth directly. So it's called the ground of seeing because it's somebody who, who's in the fundamental vehicle, who is now a superior, in other words, an arhat, and they have direct perception of emptiness. So it's called the ground of seeing because they've seen the truth, in other words, emptiness directly. Okay? Then 4, the subject, a realizing consciousness of an abider in the fruit of once returner, is a ground of diminishment because of being a clear realizer of a fundamental vehicle superior who has accomplished diminishment, that is, has mostly abandoned worldly desire realm afflictions. Okay? So the person who's now, we've skipped over approacher to once returner. Yeah, we've gone directly to the fruit of non-returner. It's called the ground of diminishment because it's a clear realizer, one of those minds that is the foundation of, that you can build all your good qualities on. Of somebody who is a fundamental vehicle arhat, who has accomplished diminishment, in other words, they've diminished sensual desire and malice, and has mostly abandoned worldly desire realm afflictions. So sensual desire and malice are like the key worldly desire realm afflictions, and this person has really significantly subdued them. Okay, so that's why it's called the ground of diminishment. Okay, then 5, the subject, a realizer of an abider in the fruit of never returner, so we've skipped to the approacher, is a ground of freedom from desire because of being a clear realizer of a fundamental vehicle superior who is free from attachment to worldly desire realm afflictions. So the the non-returner, or never returner, is somebody who's never going to get reborn in the desire realm again, because now they've eliminated all the desire realm afflictions. The desire realm afflictions there. Okay? Then 6, the subject, the realizers of the latter 3 approaches. Okay? So the approacher to once returner, to non-returner, and to arhat, or foe destroyer, they're called the grounds of hearers because of being clear realizers of the fundamental vehicle superiors, which are not included in the other grounds. So that's the grab bag for all the other ones, because we skipped those 3 approachers, so they're there. Okay, 7, the subject, a realizer of an abider in the fruit of foe destroyer, is a ground of realizing completion because of being a clear realizer of a fundamental vehicle superior who realizes that he has brought to completion the activities of his path. So when you've attained arhatship, you've completed the hearer path completely. Yeah, so it's a ground of realizing completion because you've eliminated everything to be eliminated on the hearer path. In other words, all the afflictive obscurations. And then the subject, number 8, a realizer of solitary realizer superior is a ground of a solitary realizer because of being a clear realizer of a superior of a middling vehicle. So solitary realizers are the middling vehicle. They're not hearers, they're not bodhisattvas. Okay? And so, you know, any realizer of a solitary realizer superior is a ground of a solitary realizer superior. Okay? And then in some scriptures there also exists an explanation of fundamental vehicle grounds as 8, beginning with the ground of seeing the wholesome. Okay. Also, when those 8 are condensed, they are condensed into 2 because they are condensed into the 2, the grounds of hearers and the grounds of solitary realizers. Okay. So basically condensing them into 2. Yeah. What the hearers do, what the solitary realizers do. Okay. The ground of seeing the wholesome, I don't know what that is. Okay, 1 minute for questions. It's very helpful if before the Thursday night class you read the text so that you know what's coming up, and then after we have the teachings on it, you read it and you kind of think about why things are called certain things and how they're structured. Yeah?
So why, in that list of grounds, do they skip around?
Why do they skip around?
Because if this is to give me some sort of idea of what order I'm supposed to go, then I'm all confused.
Okay.
Based on the other list you gave us.
Okay. Well, why does it skip around? I think because it emphasizes first, you know, when it's talking about the path of preparation, it's emphasizing that you need a clear realizer, which is an inferential understanding of emptiness, you know. And then from that, then you go to the approacher of stream enterer, okay? Then the abider of stream enterer, then it skips the next 3 approaches because it's really emphasizing, I think, the result. So you get the result, you know, abider in the fruit of once returning, then non-returning, then arhatship. But then you can't leave out the approachers totally, so you go back and you bring them in the picture, okay? And they're called the grounds of hearers. And then you come back to arhatship, the final goal of the hearer, and then the final goal, and then the whole path of the solitary realizer. Yeah?
This question is from someone watching online.
Uh-huh.
Is the view of the personal identity in the fundamental vehicle explanation the same as a self-sufficient, substantially existent I?
Okay, so in the fundamental vehicle explanation of the view of a personal identity, is it grasping at a self-sufficient, substantially existent I? Yes. I and mine, both of them. Okay. Yeah.
So if someone's on the path of preparation, why can't they change their minds if they're going to do bodhisattva?
Oh, okay. So on the path of preparation, why can't they change their minds? Some of them may, but once you get to the last part of the path of preparation, the path of mundane dharmas, supramundane dharmas, then by that time you are just about ready to have your direct realization of emptiness. So at that level you can't change. Okay? Some people say at the first 3 levels of the path of preparation, you know, maybe you can change. It's hard to say, you know, because if somebody's been practicing a long time and they have in their mind, you know, I'm following this vehicle and I want to become an arhat and this is what I'm doing, you know, they would have to have a pretty significant experience to all of a sudden say, oh, I want to be a bodhisattva after all, you know. And see, that's one of the main reasons why they really emphasize to us as beginners as much as possible to really emphasize bodhicitta in our practice and to consistently generate it, so that we make lots and lots of imprints in our mind about this, so that then when we hear that it only takes 3 lifetimes to become an arhat in the hearer vehicle, we don't get tantalized by that. Yeah? Because sometimes you have 3 lifetimes, boy, that's a lot faster, you know, than 3 countless great eons to full enlightenment, you know. So, yeah, so the idea is as much as possible to put imprints of bodhicitta and admiring and respecting bodhicitta in our mind, you know, starting from now.
The direct realization of emptiness be the event, or is that at that point you're too far down the arhat path?
You mean like after you've realized emptiness on the arhat path, can you switch and become a bodhisattva?
Well, you said that there could be like a significant event or some sort of realization. I just didn't know if it would be, or is the possibility of having the realization in that path, or is it sort of like mutually exclusive?
Well, I think if you were following the hearer vehicle path and then you had a direct realization of emptiness, you would still be in the hearer path. Okay? So it would have to be some, you know, maybe due to some extraordinary karma in a previous life, you meet a bodhisattva or you meet somebody who introduces you to bodhicitta, and then some karma from a previous life ripens very strongly, and you know, and you say, oh, I want to follow that path. You know, but if you spent like a long, long time cultivating the hearer path in your mind, even before realizing emptiness, then, you know, there's not so much imprint or chance of that happening. Okay. Yeah.
What do you think is like the real kind of reason or import of having the distinctions between the uninterrupted paths and the distinction between the uninterrupted path and the liberated path, or the approacher and the abider.
Yeah. Why distinguish between those?
Yeah, I mean, we know if you're like realizing something, then you're going to have realized it. It's like kind of like
because one is the point where your mind and the affliction are battling. And you've got the realization of emptiness, and you're really squashing the affliction at that point. Yeah. So,
experientially, like that's how one would.
Yeah.
What's going on? When it's going on.
Yeah. I mean, your object of meditation is emptiness, but that realization is really in the process. It's in the process of eliminating those afflictions. Whereas the liberated path, you have a result. Yeah, you're liberated. You're free from those afflictions forever, and they can never return.
Is that then because, like, from this in the second ground, well, it wouldn't really matter so much whether the first ground there is interferential, and the second ground there it's
direct. Yeah.
But for either of those, what he's talking about is now you have this some level of realization of emptiness, and now you're starting to make the object the doubt.
No. When you're meditating on emptiness, your object is emptiness. By the force of that realization, the doubt cannot arise in your mind again, because when you've come out of that, you've perceived emptiness directly. There's no doubt left in your mind about it.
But the thing is it seems like the object that you're realizing the emptiness of would make a difference.
You've at that point you're realizing the emptiness of all phenomena. Okay, when you have a direct realization of emptiness, it's the emptiness of all phenomena.
It's funny. I mean, this makes sense to me that these things kind of line out this way. But it seems like you'd have to have some intention to, like, I'm working on desire, I'm working on doubt, I'm working on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you're working on all of these all along, okay? But why is it that doubt is one of the first things eliminated? That's why you're asking. Why is doubt one of the first things eliminated? Well, if you realized emptiness directly, and you still had doubt, does that make any sense? No. Okay. If you realize emptiness and you still didn't know what the path to realization was, that doesn't make sense either.
So it's also then like the depth or the intensity with which the affliction holds the mind. That's the sequence too.
What do you mean?
I mean, like desire, completely eliminating desire is way further down the line.
Yeah.
Because it's so much stronger a grip in the mind, and that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the desire is very deeply rooted, and you really need to work much more at eliminating it. Okay, a stream, well, I'll get into, we're over time, but remind me next time I'll talk about why they're called stream enter, once returner, non-returner. Okay.
May the spiritual
teachers who lead me on the sacred path, and all spiritual friends who practice it have long life. May I pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. Grant such inspiration, I pray. May the lives of the venerable spiritual masters be stable, and their divine actions spread in the 10 directions. May the light of Losang's teachings dispelling the darkness of the beings in the three worlds always increase. Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami. Due to this merit may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. In the snowy mountain pure land, you're the source of good and happiness. Powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig, may you stay until samsara ends. May the deeds of explaining and practicing the Dharma, done by groups supporting the teachings and their upholders, who spread the view of dependent arising and non-violent actions in the 10 directions, and especially at Sravasti Abbey in the West, flourish.